join more because there are a couple of people that have just joined on the dot 2 minutes ago, and I think they've just finished their registration. Yeah, I've just seen an influx of numbers come in. So give me a minute and we will start the proceedings quickly. Thank you very much for keeping the pace. Just bear with us a few minutes. All right. Hello everyone. This is Yasser. Thank again. I hope everyone can hear me. I can see that now we have successfully reached almost 60 to 70% of people that had 70% plus now of people that had actually confirmed to join. So more people will be joining during the course of this, but I will start now in the interest of everyone. So once again, my name is Yasser Ansari. I work for the Business Development Department for Amdhan in UK. I will be your host for today. First of all, I would like to welcome you all on the behalf of my company to our webinar where we are looking at digital transformation for supply chain with SAP S4HANA and Ariba. Today's webinar will be based on the following agenda. Next slide, please. So the agenda for today, we're looking at. So it will comprise of introduction with myself, moving on swiftly to challenges in supply chain. We'll be after that looking at S4HANA Ariba offering, and then following swiftly from that, we'll be going on to a live demonstration of how the Ariba and S4 platform works and what does it look like. It would be using some dummy examples and data to ensure that we can bring out the best from it. At the end, it will be going on to conclusion of what the end result is, and then we are hoping to leave around 10 minutes for our panel to be able to do a quick Q&A with the audiences. I hope everyone's happy with that. Right, now a little bit about us. So as a company, I mean, you can see some details about us on the screen at the moment. But as a company, we've been around since 2011. We've got a global presence, you know, in India, US, Germany, Norway, and obviously UK. We're a SAP consulting company, predominantly working where we started obviously in the UK, but since our operations have moved in India, we've had a very strong background in terms of all the projects that we've been doing across globally, but also right now, several projects are happening in India and in UK that we're happy to share if details are required. We've got partnerships with SAP currently in India and in the UK, 9 years plus experience. With over 16,000 users that we're supporting. So overall, we've got a very good experience within SAP services. So next slide, please. So with reference to our work, just to our offerings and our current strengths, this is the offerings that are in front of you on the screen, but we have a certified workforce in the areas, for example, of C4HANA, S4, OpenText, all these resources, certified resources we keep in-house and use readily for customer requirements on ongoing basis. In terms of the products that we have, implementation-wise, we have aligned ourselves with SAP roadmap. So we are very heavily involved and are increasing our expertise constantly in terms of Ariba, SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, but also the latest stuff that SAP is involved in from RPA, robotic process automation, also IoT. So these are things that SAP is very keen on moving forward in the next era of SAP development, and we are aligned very well with these guys and working with them. So the next slide, please. So with reference to the us as a service in terms of a consultancy side of things, we work predominantly with our customers on a basis of roadmap execution, optimization generally, rollouts, AMS support, and cloud migration services. In terms of the analytics that we maybe help with, we're very strong, particularly around MSBI, Power BI, Analytics Cloud, and Tableau and others. So further ado, the main thing from all this is that we have very deep understanding with global experience that we can bring some unique learnings for the audiences that have agreed to give their time today to us. So much appreciate you guys coming on board today. So without further ado, let me quickly, as you can see on the screen, let me quickly introduce our two esteemed speakers. So first with us is Mr. Amit Patel. Mr. Patel is the head of delivery for Amdhan, who has 18 plus years of experience with SAP. He's worked previously with top MNC companies in the UK and India, comes with deep SAP understanding and a very global delivery experience. So he's a very experienced head who knows how the delivery is working. So he'll be leading the call through our seminar. With us also is Mr. Sudharma Sridhakar, and Mr. Sudharma is coming up with to us with 20 years plus experience within SAP. He's a senior practice lead for Amdhan. He's been involved with SAP with a long list of successful deliveries across the globe on several projects. You know, he's working, he's going to be over here to ensure that he can share some of his experience. So just before we start, just very quickly, some quick housekeeping rules to make sure that we all have a good webinar and learning experience. This webinar is going to be recorded and access will be given to all the attendees for revisiting at a later stage. Kindly ensure that your email addresses, numbers, or contact details that we hold for you are correct. So that will ensure that we can get these information back to you. During the webinar, if you have any questions, you can send them to me via the side Ask Questions button, and I present to them to the speakers at appropriate intervals. Thank you again for joining. Now I'd like to hand it over to our first speaker, Mr. Amit Patel. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasser, and welcome all. Thanks for your time. It's really appreciated. My name is Amit Patil. Yasser has introduced me, so I'll not waste any more time in terms of introduction. I'll straight get into the topic. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. We have been, as an organization, we have been working in the supply chain arena and helping our customers to streamline their business processes. And as Yasser has touched upon, we have been working closely with SAP to align their roadmap and our offerings together. And we have been working to kind of address the current ongoing issues with the industry is facing. We have been working within UK and Indian geographies to help our customers streamline their processes. But what we thought is it's a better idea to kind of highlight these problems and potential solutions in those areas. And we decided to run a webinar series. So today, it's the first webinar that we have starting in the series of these webinars. So let's get to it. So what we have been seeing as a trend, specifically because of COVID-19, there's a clear change in customer behavior, consumer behavior. You know, as an industry, you might have seen the trends are going down. There are commodity spikes in demand for certain commodities. There is a drop in demand in certain other commodities. It's clearly evident in the marketplace where consumers are showing behaviors like panic buying for sanitizers, loo rolls, and stuff like that, which is causing a ripple effect. On the industry, and more than ever, it is now important to have our supply chain objectives, which are about, around our customer satisfaction, for example, um, or in terms of, meeting our commitment to the customers to deliver quantities of products in full, on time, and with the proper quantities. Uh, uh, Similar to that, other issues such as internally focused, preventing the revenue loss in terms of, having to be in position of stock out, and having to have a situation to halt the production because some critical material shortages. That again is one of the key objectives that we want to prevent. Obviously, this results into revenue loss. Um, and obviously, internally our finance team has pressure on us to make sure the inventory levels are kept to optimum levels. There's a focus on getting the JIT strategy implemented and work in a lean production fashion. So keeping the cash flow easy. Now, all these objectives are obviously, these are not the only objectives in the supply chain area. There, these are the key objectives that you and me as a supply chain professional are seeing that being highlighted due to this pandemic behaviors or in natural calamities. I think in our view, what we really believe into is to kind of meet these objectives. Obviously, technology is not the only solution. There are different business people processes are sort of go hand in hand. But what are the key common factors which enables these processes? I think we believe that having a transparency in your supply chain, obviously, the today's modern manufacturing uh, and supply chain organizations are complex, with the technology evolving every day, and the customer demands are changing. The customer behaviors are changing. People need their goods every now and then. Like there gone the days where we have a long lead times. People now have expectations as a next day delivery, potentially in consumer market at least. In B2B market, the big manufacturing firms are expecting us to deliver on time in terms of their schedule, and that needs us as a supply chain professionals to have a clear transparency in our multi-tier trading partners and our downstream supply chain organizations. So um, the transparency, I think, is one of the key enabler for meeting these objectives. In addition to that, I think an agility. So agility is I think the COVID-19 situation which is currently prevailing at various different degrees in various different geographies has made it very clear that businesses who are agile are managed to cope up with this situation better than others. And how do you kind of bring this agility in our supply chain? Obviously, you need to have some sort of predictive analysis, some forecasting ability, which you can then analyze the data with potentially with your trading partners, and then with that data, having the ability to analyze that data and then decide on the right path, right strategy to act upon, and then actually acting on that intelligence is I think is very important. So I think more important is the intelligence in that network that is being formed as a part of the supply chain, and leveraging on that intelligence to take some corrective actions. I think that forms probably the agility part of the whole thing. So with these two wheels of transparency and agility, I think the high level objectives of meeting our customer satisfactions and customer service KPIs, and internal KPIs, as if stopping avoiding the losses, and of course the freeing up the inventory. These are the key objectives I think can be enabled through transparency and agility in your supply chain. Now the question is, we've been the topic, of course, of this webinar is digitalization of supply chain. But as you all know, and we are in this industry for a while now, so we all know that this is not new. We have seen various different methods through which since 70s and 80s digitalization of supply chain has been taking place. We all of us almost have come across some vendor portal or customer portal in our lifetime as a supply chain professional. We have seen, some companies having one portal or multiple portals, and obviously this works, and this works in time at that particular moment. But as we go along, as the industry moves along, as the Amazon brings in the next day delivery sort of expectation in the marketplace, you have to kind of evolve these portals, and to evolve and to support these portals always is often expensive. And this, when you probably have gone for a product off the shelf or develop this portal for yourself, you would see this changing of the trains, changing of the processes is always difficult to for this portal to keep up with. So what you as a CIOs have probably taken as an option. So historically, you probably would have gone for EDI as a platforms, which again is a good concept, better than individual portal. But having said that, you again have an upfront investment. You clear cut investment is needed. Again, it's a rigid. I mean, you cannot have on that sort of framework. It's still better than the enterprise portal, but it's still rigid. You cannot have enough flexibility to adopt to your new business processes. For example, you change your strategy from direct manufacturing to subcontracting, and your processes to manage the subcontract probably is not supported by the given EDI platform that you have enabled. In having to move over to the next type of digitalization in the supply chain, you might have, for your strategic suppliers, obviously, you might have had a one-to-one relationship, like a B2B connectivity with your single supplier or multiple suppliers who you reckon are strategic suppliers. However, the point is, it works, but it works in a bit of a difficult situation. It works for one supplier for high volumes. Obviously, there's less manual intervention. There are the advantages of it, but again, the moment you kind of have one supplier gone into a risk, the risk level for the supplier has gone high, you would have a problem in onboarding another supplier pretty easily. Of course, you need suppliers to invest from their perspective. So it's a lot of ask from suppliers themselves to sort of support these APIs. And again, one common feature across all these is the flexibility. As the industry move along, we don't think they have enough capability to cope up with the change. And of course, anything is possible technically, but it's the cost of change is always is a challenge. And being cost sensitive these days, I think CIOs are thinking more and more of the solution which is more agile and cost effective. But having said that, having all these portals, we've seen organization in our experience at least, keeping emails and spreadsheets handy. Even if we run MRP on one side in SAP, people don't trust it. Probably the bombs are not accurate. Probably the stocks are not accurate, and we end up having one person in the organization who does write MRP on spreadsheets and then run through it. So we've seen problems there. So that's the traditional way of digitalization of supply chain. So what is SAP offering in this space? So SAP has this new generation ERP, which is for Hana, which initially sort of became a buzzword, and then now it's actually showing the real potential in the marketplace, and it's really harnessing the power of the processing, the Hana engine that it has. It is now really making it possible to do things which were not earlier possible with the traditional ECC application. But with supply chain, just S4 HANA is not sort of a complete solution. S4 HANA is your solution for buying organization in terms of material planning, production planning, and having to have that internal stakeholder transparency. So your production planner, your material planner, your finance person, procurement people, they need to coordinate with each other, and that's enabled by S4 HANA. So buying organization, the solution is S4 HANA. For selling organization, Ariba SAP has come up with its acquisition in 2015. SAP has brought in this rich functionalities of supplier collaboration to the place. So our focus, although I mean we just have 1 hour today, so we can't go into details of what S4 HANA or Ariba themselves offer. They have multiple sub modules. Our focus today is just on the supply chain side. So we are going to talk about Ariba's functionality from the supply chain perspective. So Ariba, why Ariba? We have seen the portal. So as compared to the previous slide, what we have seen in the portal, Ariba is the largest B2B network. For example, Amazon is a B2C sort of a network, but here you can see Ariba is world's largest B2B trading network. And once you're connected to Ariba as a customer or as a supplier, you are connected to all. So that's the power of it. It's really connecting you, making you a part of a big network. So here, without further ado, I would probably just go through quick differentiators of this solution set. So together, Ariba and S4 offers a very robust solution set. And most importantly, I mean, this solution set, this vendor portal sort of scenarios you have seen in your probably in your experience, but in what is different in this combination. So what SAP has come up with, it has realized that the 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 collaboration with supplier is just not can be on a tactical level. It has to be on a strategic level as well. When you are doing your strategic planning, your demand planning with conjunction with your marketing team, sales team, or your customers, you that macro level planning is has to be extended to your stakeholders, external stakeholders, suppliers. So in whether it's a strategic planning level or a tactical buy and make set of scenarios, the combination of S4 HANA and Ariba provides you that sort of ability. So let's focus on quickly to go through on a strategically placed collaboration, which is a macro level planning collaboration. So in terms of forecast collaboration, what this combination allows you to do is to obviously you have internal planning processes in terms of whether it's a strategic planning using SAP's product like IBP, or you have your MRP churning out the delivery schedule for based on looking at the stock levels, looking at the demand from MTO or MTS sort of scenarios, and looking at that demand and pushing it out to your supply chain in a planning horizon with immediate plan, or in a longer horizon as a forecast, and then sharing that across to suppliers and having supplier to commit to that forecast is about the planning collaboration, and that exactly is offered by this platform. With COVID-19, we are seeing a lot of trends in terms of essential goods are coming under scrutiny. So more, for example, hospitals are having essential stocks in their inventory, and obviously they are not the focus is on their own operations, but then manage to inventories and having the best practices for supply chain in place. So in there, if they make their external stakeholder accountable for managing the inventory, then the tool which need that the inventory of essential materials to be shown to your stakeholder, to your suppliers, to be able to share the inventory levels, to be able to share the min-max level, and in real time, suppliers to act on those in the industry, act on those inventory levels to align their delivery schedule accordingly. It's game changing for at least in the essential good areas. So that's supported by this solution set. In addition to moving to the more tactical areas, obviously Ariba is one of the top 5 solution along with SAP as far as the supply collaboration space is concerned. And it out of box, I mean, what we have seen in our experience about simple collaboration on terms of sharing the purchase orders and notification, invoices, and self-billing, status update, all that box standard things are supported. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. That's just given. However, the additional scenario. So you as an organization, you come from various different industry verticals or different type of manufacturing or different backgrounds, and there are specific needs and requirements of your particular business. And whatever the scenario is, whether it's a simple purchase order collaboration, whether it needs a vendor collaboration in terms of you're having a consignment sort of a process in place where you're expecting suppliers to take accountability of your stock, but then as and when you are consuming the goods from that stock, you need to inform to your suppliers, and the delay in doing that or errors in doing that probably impacts on your supplier relationship. So having that automated is a great thing, and this platform does that. Obviously, there are some suppliers that you don't or can't work on the PO basis, so you release a schedule to them, and having that planning of schedule, pushing it out into different firming levels, i.e., fixed requirement or a forecast, and then ability to share that with suppliers and execute that from suppliers. It's all supported into the tactical arena of Ariba and Sport. For those of you who are heavy on a subcontracting type of a processes internally, good news. S4 HANA and Ariba really has a very mature and in-depth functionality to cover most of the scenarios in subcontracting. You're buying components from the set of suppliers and then issuing it to your contract manufacturer running as per the plan, and then giving you the shipping, executing the deliveries for you. And in this place, you always see there is a delay in the component supplier, or there are the quality issues at the contract manufacturer. So how you, as a buyer, how you stay on the top of these things, this solution offers it. It has a lot of intuitive reports. It has a multi-tier collaboration, and of course we can't really cover all these details in the 1 hour. But if you are interested in knowing more about this kind of things with a live demo, we can definitely help there. So feel free to get in touch with us later as well to understand a bit more details about this. And obviously, the last sec here is about, quality, as we spoke about. We really, one of the KPI for us is just not delivered in full on time. It's just not enough nowadays. It has to be underpinned by quality performance. And quality is a key factor where the suppliers comes in picture, where it's kind of rippling effect. To help our suppliers in the highest possible quality, we need to ensure we have robust processes downstream with our suppliers and probably the multi-tier trading partners. And with you might have a QM processes in your ECC or S4 HANA, but how do you extend that processes very seamlessly in real time with your supply chain? Ariba is the solution. S4 Ariba is the solution. Obviously, the return process and automatic credit memo proposition from that, it's again box standard. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But the key factor here is, the S4 HANA is of course, I mean, Ariba network is the focus for supply collaboration, but S4 HANA is not the only ERP it supports. It's the latest and greatest of the offering from SAP, but the Ariba network is possible to connect with ECC by out of box, Infor, Oracle. There are APIs available, and it's quite mature. It's been around for quite a bit of time, and since acquisition of SAP, we have seen a lot of improvement. So, for example, supporting the scenario, the consignment stock, and the robust integration with SAP is sort of is under highlight of this offering. So I think I've spoken enough about the functionalities. I think it's for our demo is due now. I don't want to start keep talking about the theory. What I've done is just to kind of make it easier for us to provide this demo. I've used a sample organization. So we're going to pretend that I'm a buying organization, Nexus or Autocoms. And Sudarma, my colleague, is going to role play as a production planner. I'm going to role play as a material planner, and we have a couple of suppliers, Tarun and Stuart, who would be representing Bosch and UI Group. So that's our pretend single layer supply chain, and we're going to cover a quick process. So I thought we have seen the tactical processes previously, so it probably is a good idea to show you the collaboration on the planning side, although this is another IBP and Ariba integration sort of a collaboration that we will definitely cover in the next webinar. But today we are planning to show you the process, the tactical planning collaboration. So what we have covered here is demand planning. So we'll be covering a production planning in S4HANA. As a part of that, we'll be showing you some Fiori screens for those of you who have not seen the S4HANA in live. We cover those bits. Material planning, we're going to talk quickly about the new stuff that MRP has brought to SAP has brought to table in the MRP area. It's renamed as MRP Live, but it's just not the name change. Under the bonnet is a huge improvements, and I'm going to talk about that quickly. But for those who are interested in specifically on MRP topic and S4HANA, we take a pride in saying that we have helped a lot of customers streamlining their MRP processes. So that's something we definitely can help you with. We're going to then talk about how the material planning automatically releases the schedule to the suppliers. So it's in real time, and then log in as a supplier to review that schedule and probably confirm the schedule that has been shared by the customer. And finally, more importantly, to close the loop, as a material planner, I'm going to review the commitment from the supplier, and based on that knowledge, that intelligence that I have now received from the supplier, I would take corrective actions. And that's about that agility loop that I was referring earlier, that having that information in place in real time, handy, and being able to act on that intuitively is what the today's requirement is in supply chain area. Just for your reference, we are going to run this demo on latest version of S4HANA is 1909, and Ariba, which is also latest version. It's a cloud product. Both of these are our demo systems. We're going to pick up a sample finished good headlamp, and we're going to have components for that, housing and reflector, one-to-one relationship. And to make this all run, obviously we need some setup in the system. So we have the headlamp assembly, which has these components and the suppliers and the agreements in place. So without further ado, what I'll just we have broken this demo down into steps. The first step is we are going to go through the production planning scenario by Sudharma. Then I'm going to show you the MRP Live, which is S4HANA MRP solution. Then I'm going to create the delivery schedule as a supplier. The supplier will the schedule will be sent, confirmation and commitment will be sent back to the material planner from the supplier, and the material planner will take the corrective actions, monitor the shortages, and potentially take the corrective actions. So that's the storyline that we are going to run through. So without further ado, I will request my colleague Sudharma to have the first step in here for production planning executed in S4. Sudharma, over to you. If you can share your screen and maybe start with the production planning, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Amit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. So without doing any further delay, let me jump on a Fury app. So this is what the live scenario we are showing here on a Fury app. So this is by product. So the product is headlamp 1490, and these are the components. Okay, so this is a single level BOM where we can have item category L, which is stock material. So for demo purpose and for better understanding the scenario, we have design here is having only two component with the quantity 1. Okay, so let me jump to my planning. Okay, so as Amit has given you the brief about the organization and detail. So I am a production planner of Nexus Autocoms Limited, and I have received the firm requirement for this month as well as the forecasting for the next month. So once we jump to Ariba network, we can check the firm requirement. I mean the firm zone and the trade zone. Okay, so now this is what the planning for the current month. So I have done a plan here for the 17th of June. There is 100 product required. Then on 24th of June again 200 product required. Then on 30th of June again I required 300 component products, sorry. Okay, so now I'll jump to the next month. So based on the forecasting, I have increased here my production planning. So on 20th of July, I have 600. On 24th of July, again, I have 800. And on 31st of July, I am having 900 product planning. Okay, so I'll just save my plan. So as a production planner, this was the plan which I have received from the management, from the sales team, and I have done that planning. So let me quickly jump to the stock overview screen. So as I have shown you the bill of material, where we are having the product headlamp 1490, and these are the component for that product, like housing 1490 is one of the product, and the another product is reflector 1490. So here you can see the stock is zero, nothing has happened. So once we will run the MRP, the schedule line will be generated, and once it is confirmed from the vendor side, from the supplier side, you can see some on order quantity stock here, and once the delivery will be done, you can see the stock will move to the unrestricted use. So now I would like to hand it over to Amit to show the next process. Amit, please.
Sure. Thank you, Sarma. I'll reshare my screen. Uh, so for those of you who are not familiar with S4 HANA, I thought I'll probably start from the beginning. So this is S4 HANA login page. I'm logging as a material planner. And now this is, this is not a traditional SAP GUI. This is a browser-based application, which is a responsive browser. It can be accessed on iPad, mobile devices, or desktops, obviously. What SAP has brought in is this view of tile-based view, or like a dashboard. So individual tile in our to link it back to our ECC world, it's like a transaction or a report or a graphical display. What SAP also has brought in for a user's experience, as on this dashboard, you can see, if you are a procurement person, you can see a spend variance. As you log in the morning, you can see ready-made figures. So it's like harnessing on the power of HANA, where you can really churn out a huge number of data and really create your KPI based dashboards and keep it on your landing page is a great thing. And obviously there are a lot of apps are out of box, but this, you can also customize your own dashboards and reports on your screen. Here, to continue our story back, I've logged in as a material planner, and I'm going to look at this new app that SAP has brought in HANA, which is material coverage report. This is very intuitive. I personally, I like this is because if I'm a material planner and I'm responsible for a certain category or commodity, I can have this as as a pre-built on my desktop, and I can see straight away a very visual presentation of what's the stock coverage. So these are my components, for example, and system shows over a period of this 21 days. So each segment here, which you can see, it's probably difficult to see this, but if you see this every single vertical line, it's essentially a particular day in next 21 days. And you are able to see the material coverage, and this is a shortage view of for a material planner, which is really important, and you can then focus on the shortages. So we have a different variations of shortage. I'm going to talk to you about that. You look at the shortage overview in terms of, okay, you have a requirement from production planning or from the customer order. Have you acted upon that? Has the MRP taken that in account, and has it created a schedule? So that's the MRP standard view. But let's look at what else you can do into this screen. So as a material planner, I can probably just focus on let's just focus on that particular assembly, that headlamp assembly that we had planned for just now. I'm just going to select that through material group so that we can just focus nicely and neatly on this one. So here we go. We have a headlamp, which is our finished good. and it has two components, housing and reflector. Just for your example, as Sudharma has shown, there is no stock for these components, so there's no need to show the stock availability because there's no requirement as such. So this is all blank. But on the finished good level, as you see, it has identified that based on aligned with Sudharma's plan, there is in MRP view, which is the planning view, for the material planner, the person can see, yes, this particular finished good has a problem. So he or she can simply go inside and have a quick query, and then has this new nice and clean view of, okay, what for headlamp, what sort of a requirement has come in. And it can very easily say there are the schedule for independent requirement for make to stock, which telling us that it's coming from production plan. There is the schedule for this, and I can see this probably is not picked up by MRP. Now I'm with S4 HANA, I can actually pick up this from this screen itself. I can actually run MRP, which I'm doing right now. Now, while we're waiting for this, I can quickly talk about MRP. So MRP is really, I would say modernized in S4 HANA. You have, in the industry, you can see demand-driven MRP has been, the MRP space is moving, and you have demand-driven MRPs coming in, and you need system to support that sort of cutting-edge MRP strategies. So with S4 HANA, you can actually build those MRP strategies. For example, demand driven MRPs, where it needs the MRP or stock to be managed on a subcomponent level. A buffer has to be in real time managed and understood based on the supplier commitment, stock levels, production plan, and real time we have to run that. So S4 HANA gives you that ability to churn out MRP. You in your experience, you might have seen MRP running on daily basis or weekly or monthly basis, but not in a real time. And that's the power of HANA. You can actually, depending on your business need, a critical item, shortage, sort of based on the variability of the component or good, or the variance on of the shortage and criticality of the material. You can actually classify certain product groups and run MRP literally in real time for that product group. And on as a material planner, you have the dashboard which will tell you a continuous moving picture of the shortage against that. So you can tailor it to your need. So here, going back, MRP has executed, and if you see now, the red thing has been gone here, because now MRP has executed and it has created plan order for production of these items. So that's essentially is a quick overview of the finished good level MRP. Now, just for sake of completeness, I'm just going to quickly go back and now see the picture again for our finished good. Now, boom, you can see this suddenly, because I've run MRP for housing. You can see there has been the shortage picture has now been created, because this MRP has created a requirement for the components as well. Now let's go at the component level. Let's go to the reflectors, for example, and have a look. I can see the new requirement for reflectors has been created, which was not there earlier. So now I can obviously this doesn't need to be done by planner on day-to-day basis. This will be an automated based on the frequency that you decide, based on the variability and criticality of the item. But here I can show you quickly. I have just executed MRP, and I can see the schedule has been created for UI group, because I have set up the agreements and the master data which is needed. Obviously, you can create your quota arrangements, and how much to give to one supplier, and all that box standard ECC features are still continued. But the change is here on the user level, and the processing ability in real time. So if you can see, we'll quickly go into a supply side as well. But let's first go back to the last component that we have and look at the requirement for this component. So now I probably can just show you this as well. So if I go to this view, it's not 21 days, but it's 42 days. So I can see the visibility of a stock for 6 weeks based on the requirement as well. So there are various views. I can jump into the material master from here, and I can also go into the material requirement. Now in here, if you look at this, the MRP is already executed. What I can do here is I can show you another view, which is probably more sort of intuitive for a user. So if you really have a really high demand, obviously for the sake of this demo, we created like a demand on a spaced across multiple days. But if you have really high number of regular demand, you can look at this. So the red is basically demand, and blue is whether as a material planner I have created the schedule. So wherever you see the gap, potentially that's the problem area. And if the problem area is identified here, you can take a corrective action from here, i.e. you can edit the purchase order, you can run MRP again, which will propose the right action. So at one place, you look at the journey as we have seen. We start off using the shortest dashboard. We go inside this graphical or tabular view. We can jump into material masters or schedule from here, and we can take corrective actions. So it's like very seamless user experience, and really harnessing the power of S4. And so that's basically, I would say, is the power of MRP Live. Obviously, people who are interested in knowing more about.
Yeah. Amit, sorry to interrupt you. So this is for EY supplier, right? So can we see for the Bosch supplier if it is there?
Sure. We'll just go back. Sorry, I did select the same supplier, I think. Let's go back into check material coverage. Good call. Sorry, the MRP was not executed for this one. I'm just going to quickly run the MRP,
Yeah.
and that's the schedule boom. So you can see the speed of that as well. Now this has a Bosch creating a schedule. What it has created is a schedule line or delivery schedule for which ending with 70. I also have received an email as a supplier, because I'm a role play for a supplier. I would receive an immediate email. I got a prompt on my machine on the email, so I can just show quickly an email. I have just received this email to you, which, let me just get this. So I get straight away an email from the system. Obviously, this email can be configured, and we can put the URLs and stuff like that. So that's the prompt. Obviously, for high volume stuff, it's not feasible, but low volume stuff, it definitely helps. And if I quickly go to the Ariba page. So now what we have seen so far is we have received a schedule as a supplier. I'm going to act as a Bosch here. And this is the screen for a Bosch supplier. So Tarun is our representative of Bosch. He's logging into the portal. So let me talk a couple of things about the Ariba Network portal for supplier perspective. So obviously you must have rolled out some portals, potentially most of you, if not all. But the challenge in rolling out the supplier portal is always it's hit and miss. So strategically speaking, if you have your 20% critical suppliers where you can provide them the Ariba portal enterprise access, which obviously come as a paid subscription, and the 80% tail of your supply base can still access the Ariba network as a free, of course, standard subscription, which come with some limited version of functionalities. But still, both these options allows your suppliers, whether it's a critical supplier or non-critical suppliers, to interact with you, collaborate with you, and work with you. So in here, this is the screen of going back to the Ariba network. So I'm logged in as a Ariba supplier. Very clean dashboard, user friendly. They can configure, as a supplier, you can configure various different reports and graphs here. And most importantly, it's one-stop shop for, as a supplier's perspective, one-stop shop for all the customers. So if I'm logging as Bosch, this will be a one-stop shop for Bosch to serve all their suppliers. If they're connected to Ariba network, that means they can connect with all their customers, receive the demand from all their customers, and react to those demands. In here, just a quick overview of this, we got inbox and outbox, where obviously the orders, the schedules, the payment, early payment request, remittances, shipping notifications, etc., can be shared or received from the customer. As a supplier, you can provide confirmation, shipping notifications, etc., back to the customer. This bit here is the macro level planning which I was talking about, where the tools like IBP in ECC and S4 HANA world, you are doing a strategic planning there. You can share those plans directly with the supplier here, and supplier can provide the confirmation based on the plan, on the schedule lines, and provide the commitments across it. As I said earlier, for Ariba network is just not for the supply chain collaboration. It has a procurement support as well in terms of catalog. If your internal purchasing team working with the catalogs, then as a supplier, you can maintain the catalog on your own and share that with, make it available for your internal buyers, and with the whole process behind that. Of course, we can discuss about that later if you are interested. One of the key requirement that supplier needs from this kind of portals is an ability to run their own reports. And here you can see we can actually run the reports that are needed. They can tailor-made their reports and then execute the report as and when they need. So it's quite robust functionality in terms of self-service reporting. And most importantly, in my experience, I have always seen a pushback from suppliers to go and start entering data into some other system. Of course, they have to do that in their own sales system potentially, and then your customer coming along and asking, potentially every different customer asking for adding into multiple different portals. Of course, Ariba, one issue it addresses that it allows you to connect to multiple customers, but still it allows a user to upload and download data. So I can, for example, download all the purchase order or schedule I received for the week or day, export it, download it from this portal, export it into my system, take a download from my cell system and upload it back here. So no data entries. If we are working on a high volume stuff, then you can do a download, upload of this. So we have seen the internal data key entries. There is a possibility for upload, download, and there is also a possibility of integrating this portal with your internal sales, whether you are on S4, whether you are on ECC, whether you are on Infor or any local ERP, as long as you have some basic integration capabilities on your ERP, network can talk to it. And then we quickly look at this. So this is the, so without further ado, I think we are being concerned about the time. I can quickly show you, this is the delivery schedule that I have just received from my customer Nexus. And as a Bosch, I'm looking at this. I see I got total quantity of 640. I would like to know the details about it. So I just quickly jump into this and boom. So what is to be noted here is an ability to see the firm schedule, which is for the month of June. Sudharma had planned for the firm requirement. So you can, on each material basis, you can see, you can tell, or you can agree on a material master level on the S4 side, what is the horizon, planning horizon, like firm horizon for that material to give the requirement to the supplier. So depending on if it's a long lead type item and you need a bit more notice to be given to the suppliers, this is essentially the solution for this. So in this month, what we have done, we have configured this material master to have 30 days of firm requirement. So any requirement is going to the suppliers in next 30 days. It will be a firm requirement to the supplier. And anything after those 30 days is a trade-off zone. Trade-off zone basically indicates that you are allowing or indicating your supplier to buy the raw material, but not necessarily put it into production. So you're not giving a commitment to buy those things. So this is a great way, again, going back to what challenges and how the transparency and the agility can be brought in. If you share information earlier and forecast earlier in a very systematic way, based on each material potentially, there is a good chances that there will be a reciprocal reaction from the supplier, and they would be well prepared for any spikes in the requirement, etc. So here you can see there are, tactically speaking, for this month there is not the demand is on average similar to what they used to get, but suddenly there is a spike in the demand, and I as a supplier would then plan my raw material and be prepared to have that. So I think I've seen this always is a problem. This is done on Excel potentially, but having this joined S4 and Ariba sort of a connectivity, there is a possibility, and definitely we can automate the whole thing. So for the sake of this demo, we did run manual MRP manually, But imagine the scenario where Sudarma had done the planning and MRP would run and automatically based on the criticality and the frequency of it. The supplier is in real time getting the information based on the changes in the production plan. So this is a real I think that agility that we are looking for, real time collaboration that we are looking for, I think that definitely is can be arranged through this. So just being conscious of time, I'm just going to quickly complete the quick run for this. So I'm going to now, there is a possibility for suppliers to confirm this. So I'm just going to get into details, and there are obviously excuse me, there are obviously different options that we have to confirm the schedule. I can select individual lines, or I can select all the lines, and I can give an indication to my buyer saying that I can't do on the dates, so I can change the dates, or I can change the quantities. So here we pretend that I have a problem in the end of last week because of other commitments that I have for other supplier for that component. I'm going to just confirm this in real time. Again, just to touch upon that, and this is not necessarily to be done click by the end user. You can integrate this automatically or export and import things. So these all things which I'm showing on the portal can be done in bulk by the end user from the supplier perspective. Bringing that adaptability factor in place. Most of the portals doesn't work when supplier doesn't want to adopt to the new ways of working. So that's what I've done quickly. Of course, the time doesn't permit us to talk about all the functionalities. It's quite extensive. There are multiple modules, but we'll definitely in our next webinar series will cover the other areas. Here now I have done the bit of supplier. I now need to go back to as a buyer potentially and see the effect of this back into what's happening in the buyer side. So now just to complete this, what we have been traditionally doing, I mean, people may ask that, MRP was there always and it's still sort of, there and it works for some people, but in current times where we need that extended supply chain to be onboarded in your planning process, in your supplier process, supply chain tactical processes. Now, if I was traditional world, I don't have any visibility of the supplier's commitment here, and I would be, as a material planner, I'm saying everything is hunky dory, and I'm not worried until probably the last day here, where the panic kind of hits in, because I have no visibility about the supplier. If supplier, I have missed the mail from supplier or call from supplier about constraint on the last week, or potentially forgot to take an action. So here you got another view of the shortage supply. And there, if you can see, if I run this view, I can quickly see the housing, which is the Bosch component. I can see the view of this picture in conjunction with the supplier's commitment. So now supplier commitment has come back from Ariba network to S4, and I can see there's a problem in the last 2 days, in a couple of weeks after that, for production to be covered. And if I go into details for that, I can see there is a shipping notification which I was expecting for 300 quantity has come as 100 quantity, and then I have on 29th I have a shortage for 160. Again, I can go into details for that, and from here I can take a corrective action. I can probably update the schedule or assign a new increase the schedule for the EY group, depending on what the right action to take in that scenario. I can do that. So that's in nutshell. I would say I wanted to touch upon sort of end-to-end cycle of this, but what is really I think making a change here is this ability for a material planner to be on top of the coverage, and depending on the industry you are, like there are spikes in the commodity requirements and not, and then real time having to have information about and taking the right action on that intelligence. So together with supplier collaboration, that is possible. But I think I hope I have given that sort of a view. Again, we are constrained with time, so but we definitely can provide detailed sort of a view of what further possibilities are there, or if there are any specific requirement in your specific scenario, then we can definitely talk about that separately. That essentially brings us to the conclusion of of this topic. Before I kind of let Yasser to take over to take some question answers, I just want to quickly conclude. Supply chain is obviously, it's not one way traffic, it's both way traffic. It's your buying organization and your supplier selling organizations and their trading partners and component providers and then logistics providers. They all involve into this framework. And there is with this S4 and Ariba solution set, there is something for everyone. It's not like, it's a win-win situation, or rather I would call it win-win-win situation, where ultimate winner is the customer, because you're getting your buying processes right, supplier is getting their processes right, and the winner at the end is your customer. Again, touching back to your the final, or like a high level objective that we have seen. You have your customer centric KPIs, you have your internal KPIs in terms of avoiding the stock out situation, you have your your lean inventory KPIs. So as a buying organization, you can help get the reduced inventory levels, depending on, because you now have connected your material planning, production planning, MTO scenario, customer orders directly through all these internal rules to the suppliers and onboarding their scenario. You can actually optimize your inventory levels depending on the criticality and availability of the materials. You can avoid disruptions because now you know more information in real time about from your suppliers, and you can reduce that disruption. You have potentially an ability to identify where I am going to have shortages and take an action and remove those stock out scenarios from occurring. And of course, this is not just the data exchange. There is much more about Ariba network. See, I think I've been asked to always ask the questions why it is different than any other portal that is there. I think the Ariba network is that exact word, network. It has a just having the supply collaboration as one module is just not that enough. It has automatic seamless integration with sourcing. It has automatic seamless with your procurement. So you're doing a thing. You're not doing supply collaboration in isolation. You are connecting it with the sourcing. For example, if you have because of panic, you have a constant in one geography with one supplier, you straight away can take that production bomb, push it into Ariba sourcing module, run the sourcing event there, and push the contract back into S4 or ECC system that you may have, and boom, MRP can pick that up and start pushing the orders or schedule to the new supplier. So it's all connected. It's intelligent network. You can put in business rules in there. You can put in the tolerances on there. You can actually set up some criteria to share the purchase order and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, we are constrained by time. But from buying side, you definitely have a lot of advantages there. I'm a firm believer that just having one model of Ariba probably is not going to do the justice to the overall capability that it offers. If you are in a need of complete supply chain sort of solution, end-to-end processes, then I think a lot of other modules I think we should leverage on and talk about. But moving on to the supplier side quickly, from supplier's perspective, of course, we need to be able to serve our customers better, and we need to have visibility about their forecast, their changes in the plan, and real-time updates from the customer. Always is a plan. There is always a fight with the people who are chasing for suppliers and shortages. If we have a very strong planning and forecasting capability, then I think there will be a very good supplier relationship and working culture out there, and this platform allows that. OT performance, I mean, OTP is one of the KPI, on time in full supply from suppliers. Is you can see, I think them some studies shows that more than 20-25% improvement straight away achieved just by putting in this solution in place. And of course, you have the ability to connect to your Ariba network using APIs or all spreadsheets or CSV files, upload and download function is there. So overall, I think going back to the topic that we embarked on discussing about the supply chain challenges and digitalization in the modern world for supply chain, I think we haven't touched. We just kind of scratched on the surface of the whole thing. But I think there is a lot to kind of discuss and see the power of S4 HANA and Ariba in more details. But again, thank you for your patience and your time. With this, I will probably hand over to Yasser to open the forum for question and answers. Please feel free to ask the question. We'll make our best to answer all the questions, but if it needed, we will definitely get back to you and make sure that your answers and queries, your questions and queries are answered. So over to you, Yasser, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again. Firstly, thank you, Amit and Sudharma. Thank you very much for such an interesting webinar. Now I'm opening the forum for any questions. Thank you, participants, for sending me the questions separately as well. I've got a couple of questions here, but feel free to keep sending the questions. In the interest of time, we'll try to answer as many as we can. One of the questions asked is with reference to the pricing side of things. Amit, can you give us an idea with regards to pricing? How much would this system cost for people who are interested in looking at it? And could you give us an idea for that?
I mean, to divide the pricing is we have on one side S4 Hana and other side Ariba network. So S4 Hana is obviously it's a different ballgame. We'll have to sort of work with you to
apologies, it was Ariba question.
My apologies. So on Ariba side, as I touched upon, there are two versions of Ariba. One is for standard, which is free of cost, and the other one is the paid enterprise version, which of course allows the supplier to go for one-to-many. The quick and simple answer is there is no clear answer in terms of exact figure, but it is having a slabs in terms of the transaction. So number of transaction, higher the number of transaction, the higher the fees are. But exact fees in Indian region, we can come back to you with the help of SAP partners. But yeah, the model is based on the volumes. So number of volume of transactions will depend on the pricing model that you would have. But we'll get back to you on the details with specific pricing in Indian region.
All right, perfect. One more question is, can Ariba can Ariba be used with?
You were breaking there. I think, Yasser, can you repeat that question, please, for me?
Right, my apologies. One of the questions asked is, could you give us an idea about what standard Ariba comes with? Does it come with all the functionalities? Are there new functionalities, further functionalities that can be added, etc.?
Yes. So the Ariba has, there are 4 or 5 different modules in Ariba. For example, they're broken down into 2 categories, one upstream and downstream. And of course, the upstream is your strategic sourcing processes, whether it's a supplier onboarding, supplier performance management, or overall supplier lifecycle management. Then you have a contract management out there, and then you have a sourcing, and they're all integrated with the downstream, which is your procurement processes, purchase to pay processes, back into S4 HANA as well. So it has a very tight out-of-box integration with S4 HANA in terms of the P2P collaboration. It has an invoice management collaboration. So both operational and strategic procurement level, it has integration with S4 HANA. And that's just the procurement side of it. Then you have this model that we spoke about just now, which is supplier collaboration. And then you also have various different scenarios within supplier collaboration, like a subcontracting, consignment, stock, etc., etc. So I think that's the overview of Ariba. But I think we can provide you more detail for each model and functionality within each model as a follow-up action from that question, if you're interested in further details.
Brilliant. You've just answered 2 of the questions together. That's very kind. So our understanding is that the Ariba can be used with.
I'm missing you.
Hello. Sorry, my apologies. So thank you very much. You've definitely answered the questions that there were 2 questions that were similar in your answer. You've answered them. And now, very quickly coming to the last part, where do you see the Ariba making an impact in terms of COVID-19, the current situation that a lot of companies are facing? Do you feel that Ariba can make a difference in terms of how they operate or help them? Could you give us just your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, COVID-19 situation is.
I'm sorry
Hello.
to interrupt in between. There's a question in chat, like, can Ariba be used with suit on HANA?
Of course, of course. As Ariba, rather most of the Ariba functionalities are also aligned with SAP for HANA. Native integration, again, we as Amdhan, we are currently delivering an integration scenario between. So it's basically complete upstream, downstream, which is strategic and operational procurement with supply chain management. We're integrating with S4 HANA, and the almost all the integration come out of box. Even there are possibility to create reservations and stuff like that from the operational procurement. So short answer to this is yes. Long answer is depending on your requirement. We can definitely explain you what sort of integration is there and what depth of functionalities are there. Sorry, Amit, is that you got that answer?
Yes, that was one of the questions, and I think you mentioned that when you were answering what are the other things that Ariba can work with. But thank you very much, Amit. I think in the interest of time, I must close the session now. We're short of time. If there's any quick questions, feel free to.
Sorry, there are a few questions in the question answer window.
Ask them now. I think it's been great talking to you all. Let me just take one more question. Amit, do you mind?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So I see a question from Nick. Nick, thanks for the question. I hope you're well. There's a question which says, do you consider use of Ariba Lite supplier account instead of the enterprise account to offer the viable level of enablement for the supplier and customers? Great question, Nick. The answer to this is, it's a very strategic area, how to onboard suppliers onto portals like this. And my suggestion here would be, or rather in my experience, what we have seen customer doing, or we are recommending customers to do rather, is to look at those 20% of your critical and high volume suppliers potentially, to go on the enterprise account. The light account is for one-off user, low volume, non-strategic people who are not potentially dedicated for yourself. So you can offer them to have the light account. What I have also seen my experience, still the B2B stays in. So very high volume sort of supplier, you go for enterprise account, and within the enterprise account, you go for API connectivity. So essentially, Ariba Network acts as a hub, or like a ADI platform, enabling them to sort of do high volume system to system connectivity and sharing the supply, the intelligence across each other. So it's a good question, but I think I hope I have answered that on a strategic level.
No, you have, Amit. Just now. One last question I think that I've been sent in is, I'll just add the two last questions in together. So one is specifically asking that Ariba Lite supplier accounts, do they have a viable level of enablement for suppliers and customers? Is that, do you consider?
Yasir, I'm sorry to interrupt in between. Amit, there's a question from Rajiv Jina from Bajaj. He's having, so can just be unmute him for some second.
You want me to ask the question directly over the voice? That's okay. I just wanted to know what is the standard Ariba is. Okay, and how does it come? I mean, we are SOH. So what is the difference between standard Ariba and paid Ariba? What all comes in the standard Ariba? What are the major functions? And what is the functions that comes with the paid Ariba?
Sure. We have a proper list of all the functions for standard and paid version. We'll share that subsequently after this call. But just to kind of quickly answer your question, the tools like bulk upload download doesn't come with the standard. There is no dedicated portal. There is no dashboard for the enterprise. So for the light version or the standard version, what happens is you get an email or schedule to your inbox as the supplier. You can click on the URL there, and you can see the document in the browser. So you don't have as a dedicated portal or sort of a account in there to log in. But you definitely have a portal to interact, to see your schedule, to update the schedule, to send the messages out, etc.
Okay. I mean, it comes as a link or something, and we'll do that. And
as a link. Yes, it comes as a link.
Yeah.
What we do is we probably can share a list, the slide which has detail comparison, and maybe a video of light and enterprise version. And if you're interested, maybe a detailed demo also.
Yeah, I'll be interested because I did the AutoDX. I think similar functionality is also here. The data also flows. I mean, invoice data.
Of course, yes, it has. Yes, it has, and various different options are also there. For example, ERS or self-billing, as you call them, that also is possible. That is supported. If you have OpenText Vim as a solution in place, then it also has that capability to integrate with OpenText Vim out of box. In terms of invoice management, as from a buying organization, you have accounts payable function, and you have to manage any invoice verification process, the business rules around it. The paid version also comes from like a portal view for buyers as well as suppliers. So suppliers can submit the invoices, and buyer can look at those invoices, or accounts payable function, for example, look at those invoices, run the automatic rules for the variations and any discrepancies, and then send out emails to the good recipient, etc. Just to, if there is no good receipt posted, but invoice is received, so it can send workflow, etc. So there is a lot of mature functionalities out there.
Maybe we can have separately sometime a small demo on that part. And if required, I will internally ask our people to have a look at it. Let's see. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any more questions?
Right. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I hope we've end of the questions. Do we have one more question available? Amit Kumar, do you have any other questions?
I see there are one more question from I don't have a name, but I can read the question out. With Ariba, can we have an option to check and add new suppliers if current suppliers are not supplied? What is needed? Brilliant question. So this comes, and as I was touching upon, I probably have not touched in details in this topic, but Ariba definitely has a function called sourcing, wherein you can see the people available or the suppliers available in a certain category. If you are having a problems with the existing supplier, let's say the scenario which I was touching upon, you have a production bomb and you need to, your current supplier is struggling, let's say because of pandemic reason, Tamil Nadu is lockdown potentially, and you want a quick and easy sourcing option for that category. So you can simply push a button to push that bomb into Ariba sourcing, find the suppliers in that category available, look at their performance, etc., some information available for them, invite them for bidding, run the bidding through them, and provide potentially a contract to them at the end of it, and push that back into your ERP, ECC, or S4 to create to be fed into Ariba. So it's definitely there. Sourcing comes on standalone. So the SAP's offering is there. Individual module is separately licensed. So if you're interested just on sourcing, that's definitely is possible. There is a question from Mr. Lute, Nilesh Lute. Do you have invoice tracing for service provider? Unfortunately, I haven't understood the question in detail. I need a little bit more detail, Nileshji. But if you could, I'll get in touch with you, and definitely we can talk about it in more details. I think one last question I missed out from Nick, which is where configuration or customization is required to achieve the solution design. Is it correct to say that Ariba is relatively inflexible and therefore ERP must carry the customization? I think good question. In my experience, I've seen all the standard bolt-on processes are very much there. So for example, I'll give you an example that I worked with SRM SUS, the supplier self-service previously. And SRM had a few configuration options, but in S4, in Ariba, there is a huge list of configuration options. For example, whether you are using on a timesheet basis service procurement, your material procurement, You want supplier to be able to use the unlimited, sort of a functionality to submit the time and material. You want to work with the blanket product category or unlimited, unknown or counter-assignment category. A lot of functionalities out of box, and I think it's just that in your particular scenario, if you have any pursuit question, I'm definitely going to explain you more details as to what these functionalities are. But it's very mature, it's very rich. I mean, I'll be honest. When I started first getting into Ariba, I was hoping for the same thing, that it probably is not as flexible. But I think looking at the maturity of the portal, especially after acquisition from SAP, it has actually brought in most of the functionality that we have in ECC or S4. There is a complementary configuration out in Ariba there as well. Very, very rich and in-depth functionalities available. I think that's all I can see. Mr. Lute, I'll definitely get back to you and understand a bit more about your question, and we'll make our best to answer the question as well. Any more, please, Yasser?
No, I think these are the end of the questions, and we are at the end of the time in terms of the webinar. So any other questions that are coming in now, we will endeavor to answer them later on after the event. If that's okay, I think we should conclude the webinar. I hope all of you enjoyed the session with us as much as we did, and it was a learning exercise for everyone. As promised, we will make the recording available to all of you. Thank you again for making this a success for us. It's been a great event. I'd like to request everyone for some feedback if you get a chance. Any constructive feedback can help us continually improve the performance of these webinars and moving forward. We will keep you guys up to date with any further webinars that we do on different topics. But thank you again for coming, and have a wonderful day ahead. Take care.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure to have you on the call. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone.